of providing services to those who need them. And so tonight, I'm proposing an increase of $321 million in federal spending on drug treatment. With this strategy, we will do more. We will work with the states. We will encourage employers to establish employee assistance programs to cope with drug use. And because addiction is such a cruel inheritance, we will intensify our search for ways to help expectant mothers who use drugs. Fourth, we must stop illegal drug use before it starts. Unfortunately, it begins early, for many kids before their teens. But it doesn't start the way you might think from a dealer or an addict hanging around a school playground. More often, our kids first get their drugs free from friends or even from older brothers or sisters. Peer pressure spreads drug use. Peer pressure can help stop it. I'm proposing a $250 million increase in federal funds for school and community prevention programs that help young people and adults reject enticements to try drugs. And I'm proposing something else. Every school, college, and university, and every workplace must adopt tough but fair policies about drug use by students and employees. And those that will not adopt such policies will not get federal funds, period. The private sector also has an important role to play. I spoke with a businessman named Jim Berg, who said he was haunted by the thought, a nightmare really, that somewhere in America, at any given moment, there is a teenage girl who should be in school instead of giving birth to a child addicted to cocaine. So Jim did something. He led an anti-drug partnership financed by private funds to work with advertisers and media firms. Their partnership is now determined to work with our strategy by generating educational messages worth $1 million a day, every day for the next 3 years. $1 billion worth of advertising, all to promote the anti-drug message. As president, one of my first missions is to keep the national focus on our offensive against drugs. And so next week, I will take the anti-drug message to the classrooms of America in a special television address, one that I hope will reach every school, every young American. But drug education doesn't begin in class or in TV. It must begin at home and in the neighborhood. Parents and families must set the first example of a drug-free life. And when families are broken, caring friends and neighbors must step in. These are the most important elements in our strategy to fight drugs. They are all designed to reinforce one another, to mesh into a powerful whole, to mount an aggressive attack on the problem from every angle. This is the first time in the history of our country that we truly have a comprehensive strategy. As you can tell, such an approach will not come cheaply. Last February, I asked for a $700 million increase in the drug budget for the coming year. And now, over the past 6 months of careful study, we have found an immediate need for another $1.5 billion. With this added $2.2 billion, our 1990 drug budget totals almost $8 billion, the largest increase in history. We need this program fully implemented right away. The next fiscal year begins just 26 days from now. So tonight I'm asking the Congress, which has helped us formulate this strategy, to help us move it forward immediately. We can pay for this fight against drugs without raising taxes or adding to the budget deficit. We have submitted our plan to Congress that shows just how to fund it within the limits of our bipartisan budget agreement. Now, I know some will still say that we're not spending enough money. But those who judge our strategy only by its price tag simply don't understand the problem. Let's face it, we've all seen in the past that money alone won't solve our toughest problems. To be strong and efficient, our strategy needs these funds. But there is no match for a united America, a determined America, an angry America. Our outrage against drugs unites us, brings us together behind this one plan of action, an assault on every front. This is the toughest domestic challenge we've faced in decades, and it's a challenge we must face, not as Democrats or Republicans, liberals or conservative, but as Americans. The key is a coordinated, united effort. We've responded faithfully to the request of the Congress to produce our nation's first national drug strategy. I'll be looking to the Democratic majority and our Republicans in Congress for leadership and bipartisan support. And our citizens deserve cooperation, not competition. A national effort, not a partisan bidding war. To start, Congress needs not only to act on this national drug strategy, but also to act on our crime package announced last May. A package to toughen sentences, beef up law enforcement, and build new prison space for 24,000 inmates. You and I both know the federal government can't do it alone. The states need to match tougher federal laws with tougher laws of their own. Stiffer bail, probation, parole, and sentencing. And we need your help. If people you know are users, help them get off drugs. If you're a parent, talk to your kids about drugs tonight. Call your local drug prevention program. Be a big brother or sister to a child in need. Pitch in with your local neighborhood watch program. Whether you give your time or talent, everyone counts. Every employer who bans drugs from the workplace, every school that's tough on drug use, every neighborhood in which drugs are not welcome, and most important, every one of you who refuses to look the other way. Every one of you counts. Of course, victory will take hard work and time, but together we will win. Too many young lives are at stake. Not long ago, I read a newspaper story about a little boy named Dooney, who, until recently, lived in a crack house in a suburb of Washington, D.C. In Dooney's neighborhood, children don't flinch at the sound of gunfire, and when they play, they pretend to sell to each other small white rocks that they call crack. Life at home was so cruel that Dooney begged his teachers to let him sleep on the floor at school. And when asked about his future, 6-year-old Dooney answers, "I don't want to sell drugs, but I'll probably have to." Well, Dooney does not have to sell drugs. No child in America should have to live like this. Together, as a people, we can save these kids. We've already transformed a national attitude of tolerance into one of condemnation. But the war on drugs will be hard won, neighborhood by neighborhood, block by block, child by child. If we fight this war as a divided nation, then the war is lost. But if we face this evil as a nation united, this will be nothing but a handful of useless chemicals. Victory. Victory over drugs is our cause, a just cause. And with your help, we are going to win. Thank you. God bless you. And good night.
President Bush tonight speaking from the Oval Office, his first nationally televised address from that office, talking about expanding the war on drugs both in this country and in Central America. His advisor said earlier today that his ultimate goal is to reduce the use of drugs in this country by 10%. That's a modest goal over the next 2 years, and by 50% over the next 10 years. Crackdown against the drug barons. Can Colombia keep it up with the help that the president has outlined here tonight?
Well, that is a big question. Colombia has certainly had a very, very big success in the last few days. But as the president said, this is not a bidding war, not a partisan bidding war, not a country bidding war. We are all behind this big effort which has moved in Colombia and in the United States. But the big question after the president of the United States has addressed the world, basically, right now, is how will this agenda affect Colombia? Colombia is in the middle of a very, very bloody war. Everybody is menaced right now. We're under a reign of terror. It's an open season against society. It's not anymore against magistrates, judges, or journalists. So when we're talking about agendas that saying we're cutting the flow of drugs into schools or into the United States in 5 or in 10 years or in 20 years, or, you know, we can't talk from Colombia in those terms. We're living day to day. Every day we have bombings, assassinations. We're living on a very, very short agenda right now.
Mr. Pastrana, we'd like you to stand by there. We'll be coming to you later tonight on NBC News, of course, but much of the criticism we want to point out, the president's battle plan is directed at its cost. Questions abound about finding the money to pay for all of this. Our NBC congressional...
How grand to never dribble